Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. members of the class of 2014, parents, family members, friends, faculty, and staff, I welcome you to this baccalaureate service, and indeed to the entire series of events that will culminate tomorrow morning with your commencement ceremony outside. After tomorrow, you, our seniors, will be graduates of Washington and Lee University, a distinction you will carry for the rest of your lives, lives that I'm sure will be ones of consequence, full of accomplishments that will bring yet further distinction to you and your alma mater. These are a happy few days, though strange in some ways, roller coasters of emotions, mixtures of formality, such as the one here this morning, and informality, such as the packing of rooms and apartments, one more tubing trip down Goshen, maybe one last visit to McAdoo's, at least until Young Alumni Weekend this fall. There is some sadness in your leave-takings, and perhaps even a small tinge of anxiety, as one chapter of your life reaches its conclusion and another yet to be written looms on the horizon. But let this period be enjoyable, with the kind of joy and gratification that comes with knowing you have done well, that you have grown as individuals and become forever a member of a very special and extended community. There is an established rhythm to the series of events here at Washington and Lee. They have changed little over the years, at least in our recent history. Tomorrow, of course, is a time of celebration for you and for your parents and family as well. Today, though, is one of reflection and giving thanks. Each of you knows that you would not be here today without the support of family and friends, without the guidance and encouragement of your faculty, without the support of staff, without indeed the generations of alumni who have come before you and given of their gifts so that you might benefit from the same experience that so profoundly shaped their lives. And so we gather for this baccalaureate service. It arises from the religious traditions of the university, a university founded by disciplined, thrifty, and strong-willed Scots-Irish Presbyterians. They came to this valley in search of freedom from religious constraint and with a desire to fashion a community of hard-working individuals. From that disposition, they created a place of learning that has always been non-sectarian and non-denominational. The origins of this day go back to the 18th century, and as it was then, it remains time for us to reflect on how an education shapes the life of a caring individual. For your time here has taught you to share the fruits of your education, to take your life in a direction of service, no matter your career, and to be mindful of ideals that transcend the self. To help us with that theme this morning, I now call upon the members of the University Singers who will sing The Road Home.
After we
You will be happy to know they'll be back. We are privileged today to hear first from this year's recipients of the Algernon Sydney Sullivan Medallion. The Algernon Sydney Sullivan Award is one of the highest awards at the university. It is presented to the undergraduate senior man and woman as determined by a vote of the faculty, who exhibit Sullivan's ideals of heart, mind, and conduct as evidenced by a spirit of love for and helpfulness to others, who, in the words of the award, excel in high ideals of living, in fine spiritual qualities, and in generous and disinterested service to others. When the institution makes the award, it appoints the recipient as its representative to bear its standard before the world. Earlier this morning, I had the pleasure to present the 2014 Sullivan Awards to Annelise, Madison, and Alvin Thomas, and allow me to share some of their accomplishments with you before they come to the podium. Annelise is a politics major from Roca, Nebraska, a Johnson Scholar. Annelise was a member of the Phi Beta Kappa, Omicron Delta, and the Reformed University Fellowship. She is a past recipient of the Penny Prize, which goes to the undergraduate student who demonstrates extraordinary commitment to personal scholarship and to the nurturing of intellectual life at Washington and Lee. Annelise was also captain of W&L's track and field and cross-country teams and has been honored as a 3-time All-ODAC Athlete of the Year award winner, as an NCAA Academic All-Region runner, and as an Academic All-Conference and All-Region performer on multiple occasions. As a recipient of a Johnson Opportunity Grant, Annelise spent the summer of 2012 in Africa as a volunteer for the Ghana Alliance for Community Transformation, working alongside members of the local community to educate and empower local underprivileged youth by teaching math, English, science, and computer skills at a primary school. In the summer of 2013, Annelise served as an intern at the Robert H. Smith Center for the Constitution at James Madison's Montpelier in Orange, Virginia. Her postgraduate plans include teaching and coaching in San Antonio through Teach for America, and she is also considering missionary work abroad in a few years. Alvin Thomas is a chemistry engineering major and a poverty and human capabilities minor from Skokie, Illinois. He is a Johnson Scholar and served as senior class representative on the executive committee, president of Omicron Delta Kappa, and was a leader in the Bonner Program, the Neighbor Service League, Campus Kitchens, Volunteer Venture, and General's Christian Fellowship. He also served as vice president of Lambda Chi Alpha Fraternity. Alvin was the founder of the Robotics Club, utilizing a 2000 grant from the National Science Foundation to introduce middle school students in Lexington to robotics, electronics, computer science, programming, and engineering design. He was also a student neuroengineering researcher, a clinic and client support intern at the Rockbridge Area Free Clinic, and a shift leader for Campus Kitchens. He is also the recipient of a 2013 Johnson Opportunity Grant, and he chose to spend last summer at Engineering World Health in Rwanda. He plans to pursue a postgraduate program in public health at the Johns Hopkins University Bloomberg School of Public Health. I now call upon Annelise first and then Alvin to provide two readings that they have chosen to help us reflect on the spirit of this occasion.
Thank you, President Ruscio. I really appreciate the honor to stand before the WNL community today, a community that has stood together in both joy and heartache for the past 4 years and for many generations of students before that. Washington and Lee has strengthened us so that we will have the fortitude to challenge the status quo and work to improve lives. I hope that as we do so, we remember to call upon each other, but even more so than that, to call upon God. I hope that we can support each other in following God's call for our lives, no matter how daunting it may seem, and no matter where it may lead us. I have chosen to read the lyrics of the song Oceans by Hillsong United. You call me out upon the waters, the great unknown, where feet may fail, and there I find you in the mystery. In oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Your grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine. Thank you.
Like Annelise, I am honored to stand before the Washington Lee community today. Today I will read a Bengali poem by Rabindranath Tagore titled Stream of Life. This poem focuses on the theme of connectedness, which I believe is appropriate as we reflect on our time at Washington and Lee. Our journey together as a class is nearly over, and unfortunately, not all of us could be present here today. As we begin our new lives tomorrow, let us not forget that all of us are connected by a deep bond of shared experience and shared life. Let not time weaken this bond, but let time strengthen it as we experience the rhythmic ebb and flow of life together. Stream of life. The same stream of life that runs through my veins night and day runs through the world and dances in rhythmic measures. It is the same life that shoots in joy through the dust of the earth in numberless blades of grass and breaks into tumultuous waves of leaves and flowers. It is the same life that is rocked in the ocean cradle of birth and of death, in ebb and in flow. I feel my limbs are made glorious by the touch of this world of life, and my pride is from the life throb of ages dancing through my blood this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alvin, and thank you, Annelise, and good luck finding your seats. It is now my pleasure to introduce this morning's baccalaureate speaker. He's one of our own. We are honored and privileged to welcome back Reverend John M. Cleghorn. He's a member of W&L's class of 1984. He has served as pastor of the Caldwell Presbyterian Church in Charlotte, North Carolina since 2008. Caldwell Presbyterian Church has embraced its call to be a diverse, progressive, and mission-oriented congregation centered on justice and advocacy. Before entering the ministry, John retired early from the Bank of America as a senior vice president after 18 years in various public relations and public policy roles. Prior to that, John was a reporter for the Charlotte Observer for 6 years. I think he's found his home. John has served Washington and Lee in several key roles, including chair of the 2003 Board of Trustees Ad Hoc Committee on External Relations, vice chair of Young Alumni for the Annual Fund, class agent, member of the Alumni Board of Directors, member of the Charlotte Area Campaign Committees during W&L's 2 most recently completed campaigns, and he received the Distinguished Young Alumnus Award in 1994. He and his wife Kelly have 2 daughters, Ellison and Sophie. We welcome John back.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the university singers for your beautiful contributions and the award winners this morning for you're out there, your beautiful readings. What a privilege and blessing it is to be with you all on this happy but warm morning. That is first and foremost the parents of your graduates, those who have helped you get to this day in your lives. But we are also here remembering everyone who has encouraged and pushed and inspired and prodded, who has coached and mentored and taught and believed in you graduates over the last 4 years. From the classroom to the ball field to the Performing Arts Center, from the halls of administration and staff to the supportive faces of those who have served you meals and cleaned your dorm rooms. And not to leave out the buildings and grounds crew. I woke this morning to barely before sunrise to the sound of whirring blowers and the crew setting up this morning. They work in the often unseen hours of evening and morning to set up for events like this, and what stewards they are of this place. Graduates, you take a little piece of each one of those who have touched you here with you. Honor their work. Make them proud. I I first stood on this almost exact spot 35 years ago, my college counselor at the Westminster Schools in Atlanta, David Lauderdale, had told me to come to this place, and I understand we have a range of Westminster families with us this morning. It was admittedly love at first sight. This line of noble, enduring buildings fronted by those brilliant white columns. I would come to learn in the years that followed how those columns stand as sentries to the grace and the dignity of this place throughout the ages. This place and the people who give it life have given you graduates each their best, and they have prepared you for life beyond the luxurious lap of Lexington. More than that, they have given you a rare advantage. They have given you a set of privileges that call on each of you to live and to lead extraordinary lives, lives beyond yourselves. This morning, of course, what path your careers and your leadership in the world will take isn't known. An enduring truth and a piece of good Reformed theology that I learned not long after I left this place is the advice that if you want to make God laugh, tell God all about your plans. You never know where a W&L degree will take you. Take my classmate, for example, Todd Ford. He came out of here and flew jetliners until the age of 50, when he then followed a dream to become a beer maker, a brewer, and he now owns a wildly successful regional brewery in Charlotte. Or take my close friend and classmate Rick Swagler, whose daughter Allison is among tomorrow's graduates. Rick was a newspaper reporter and editor first out of W&L. He then went to law school and became a First Amendment lawyer. He then returned to journalism as an editorial writer, and now he is an executive vice president with a major regional bank. Neither Rick nor I saw that when we sat where you students sit this morning. And then there's the joke about a journalist and a banker and a preacher who walked into a bar one night. That was actually last night when I had a beer alone. You see, you never know where one career leads to the next. Wherever you go, please keep in mind the counsel of the great spiritual writer Frederick Buechner, who said, "The place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness meets the world's deep hunger." The world you will inherit hungers for many things, of course. It hungers for peace and justice. In too many places, it hungers for enough shelter. It literally hungers for enough to eat. It also hungers for freedom from oppression, for liberation of our environment, and our nation's long elusive goal of true equality for all. Back in the 1980s, Rick Swagler and I were journalism students together, and we were taught by, among others, a no-nonsense, tough-minded professor named Ham Smith, who's here with us today. Now, Ham was the weed eater of Reed Hall in the 1980s. If you weren't serious about the profession of journalism, and if you didn't show some talent, some promise, well, let's just say you didn't want to be a weed in Reed Hall. Ham's rule for how to write the lead, the first paragraph of a news story, was straightforward. What is the most important thing? What is the most important thing? As one who is about halfway, I hope at least, through life's journey, I propose that a very important thing for you and for the world, if not the most important thing, is community. You are leaving one extraordinary community. You came here 4 years ago as a disparate group of 400 some odd first-year students. And as you've already heard from Alvin, you leave this place with bonds that will last a lifetime. Your bond to this place will, as the singers have sung, draw you back along that road home again and again. Since you arrived, you've been molded and shaped by values and traditions that the world needs. Things like the speaking tradition, the honor system, high standards for achievement, and deep commitment to service. You have created personal communities within the larger W&L community, groups of classmates within your areas of study, teammates, through other associations, through Greek life, the arts, through service and leadership circles. You will be amazed over the years at how those bonds come to tie you together. It was an otherwise uneventful winter day in 2011 when word shot through my class like a jolt of electricity. Our classmate, my fraternity brother and housemate, my friend, Colonel Parker Schenecker of the U.S. Army, was on duty in the Middle East. His wife, suffering from a Gordian knot of mental illness and addiction, had killed their children. Hardly any of us at that point in our lives were military men, but we knew instinctively to close ranks around our friend and classmate. A few weeks later, the Washington and Lee family filled almost 6 pews at the memorial service at a church in Fort Worth. What got us through those days, and what holds us together and has and continues to hold us together through the highs and the lows, the valleys and the mountaintops of our life, are the bonds that were formed here. We drew on a solidarity rooted in values and experiences that we shared here. A solidarity that, in fact, in most days is latent, unspoken, unrealized. In times of adversity, however, what we had in common here draws us together as one community, shaped and defined by the mystique and the meaning of this place. You, the class of 2014, know this yourselves. The accident that took your classmate Kelsey Durkin and injured 10 other students earlier this year changed the course of your time here. In many ways, you may or may not recognize it has reshaped you. Perhaps it's caused you to grow up a little faster than otherwise. As the year played out, that experience formed your sense of community as a class. It revealed strengths and qualities in you that will forever be a part of your bond. A bond that otherwise would have been less. And a bond that will see you through trials and triumphs for years to come. As important, Kelsey's loss left an imprint on the heart and the soul of this institution. It rightfully evoked new honesty in examining how W&L can responsibly be that place where students come to play hard, but also to study hard. And we as a community are already stronger for it. More recently, the Washington and Lee community is faced with new questions. Some African American law students have raised legitimate concerns related to inclusion. In fact, these issues and debates are not new. They come with the particular DNA of this place. It is a place that we don't hold to be perfect, a place that can always be better, but nonetheless a place that holds our heart and our loyalty. So these questions called for renewed examination of how Washington and Lee lives out its core values and at the same time provides a climate of learning that hears and respects all perspectives, all worldviews, and life stories. For any community, especially any university community, that is its mark of authentic community, isn't it? That we seek truth together. A true community, at the same time, also calls all who are in the conversation to demonstrate goodwill and reasonable intent. As with the class of the community of the class of 1984, the community of your class and the larger community of Washington and Lee, writ large, adversity can and will continue to make us stronger and better. All of that relates to the W&L community. But tomorrow you graduates enter a far broader community, the community of the world and our nation. So I'll lift up the importance of community to you in that context as well. Being community in you graduates' adult era won't be easy. I recently heard a consultant say that we're living through VUCA times. That's V-U-C-A, times marked by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That is the world that you will inherit, and that's just the start of it. The nation you will inherit will be vastly more diverse and pluralistic than any prior generation has ever known. It will be a nation peppered by racial, ethnic, and religious differences and variations. And the nation that we are becoming will also be marked by today's dangerous and increasing gap between the haves and the have-nots. A nation that already today, in too many places, looks like two Americas. Together, graduates, these realities call on your best. Amidst all of that, my request of you is this: seek more than just to build community, seek the common good. The idea of the common good, of course, in recent years has been hijacked and marginalized by those on both the far right and the far left, by those as well who practice this new religion of radical individualism. But long before the Tea Party or the Occupy movement, the common sense cause that is the common good was sown into God's people through a covenant. It stands also and continues to stand as the center of virtually every major world religion. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, we hear it in the words of the Old Testament prophet Jeremiah, speaking to the children of Israel in Babylon. Even though God had sent them into a foreign land, the prophet said to them, "Seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you, and pray to the Lord on its behalf. For in its welfare you will find your welfare. For in its welfare you find your welfare." God, through Jeremiah, gives us clear instruction. Seek happiness and prosperity in that of your families, but also seek the common good. Even those people with whom you think you actually have little in common. Even those whom you think really don't matter to your own success or happiness. Even those people next door or down the block or across town that you might just as soon forget about. Jeremiah still speaks to us, to you graduates, and to all of us here today. Seek the common good by stepping out of your comfort zone on a regular basis. Seek the common good by always trying to see through the eyes of the other, by building empathy rather than giving in to apathy. Seek the common good by putting your needs above others. After all, that is the sum of the education you have received here, isn't it? Whatever it says on your degree. That is the sum of the values that you have benefited from here, isn't it? All of that to say, graduates, that in many ways you're going to have to figure out some things on your own. We older folks don't have a blueprint for the times that you inherit. But two things give me deep confidence in you. Not just confidence, but hope, abiding and profound hope. First, the same Creator that comes before us and follows us will continue to do so for you. Always has, always will. And the second reason for my hope, my great hope in you graduates, has to do with a particular promise that your generation brings to the world. A range of polls and social studies reveals your character and your unique personality. For example, a Pew Research study notes that nearly 4 in 10 of you has a tattoo. Now, the research goes on to say that of that 40%, half of you have between 2 and 5 tattoos. Now, if you haven't told your parents about that, maybe this isn't the weekend to break the news. There is more to you. Despite entering the workforce amid the headwinds of the Great Recession, you millennials don't seem too worried about money. All the research shows your priorities reflect your values. You rank the goals of being a good parent, having a successful marriage, looking after the needs of others, all ahead of owning a home, having a big salary, or being famous. As the first generation of young people since 9/11, you are globally aware and understandably wary, but you are not bitter. You are the least overtly religious American generation in decades and generations, and I, for one, can't blame you, given the failures and the hypocrisies of the church in your days. I hope we in the church and the rising generation in the church or any religious community can fix that. You are on course to be the most highly educated generation in America, and the research shows you get along well with others. Older generations, but also people of all races, creeds, and colors, including the growing number of immigrants in America. All of that gives me great hope in you. Great hope in what our Creator can do through you. Now, the world will try to take away some of your idealism. You can count on that. But don't lose your resistance against skepticism and cynicism that is already one of your shining strengths. My generation may have created some problems for you to try and solve, but we have hope in you. And so right now, I want to give you a deadline. Later on today, tonight, do the one thing that you do really, really well, and that is take out your phones. Move your calendar forward 1 year from today and set a deadline. And then check in on that deadline as you approach it to see what you are doing to create the common good in real and significant ways, even in your first year in the world. I have hope in you. In closing, I'm reminded that decades before Washington and before Lee, as President Rousseau has said, a group of feisty but reverent Scotch-Irish Presbyterians actually opened the doors to the first iteration of this place that we love. And years later, amazingly, the first African-American student here, John Chavis, extended that legacy by becoming a Presbyterian minister, a free Presbyterian minister in the early 1800s. So I am going to draw on a bit of Presbyterian polity to close. When our denomination ordains new officers, new elders to run the church, part of their charge, part of the promise that we ask them to make is to lead the church with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love. To lead in your times, to build community, to achieve real common good in your times will take heavy doses of all 4 of those things. Washington and Lee has taught you the first 3, and with, I pray, your friends and your family, plenty of the last one, love. Don't ever lose sight of the power of love. And so now I will ask the graduating class to stand. Go ahead, stand up, stretch your legs. And I will presume to put this question to you. Will you strive to build community, to seek the common good, and to lead our nation and our world with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love? Will you? What? Amen. You may be seated. Amen. So let it be. Good luck and Godspeed.
Shane and the University Singers, thank you very, very much. I know you're not done yet, but thank you. And for the seniors, that was your best. You did good. And thank you, John, for your most meaningful and memorable comments. I know all of our graduates took those to heart. We will hear in just a moment from the University Singers as they perform the W&L hymn. But before they do, let me wish all of you an enjoyable 24 hours, your last as students at Washington and Lee. Let it be the most meaningful of your time together. And now please stand as we hear the W&L hymn.
In the shadows of white columns, we stop to hear the chimes, worn steps on which we linger, slowly yield to time. But when we doubt our future's course, our honor sets us free. A timeless trust in our alma mater, Washington and Lee. As the bells ring out beyond and echo through the halls, we sense in this brief moment our strength within these walls. But when we doubt our future's course, our honor sets us free. A timeless trust in our alma mater, Washington and Lee.
Thank you again. There's lunch on Cannon Green, and for those who want to find something to do for your parents later on, please send them over to Lee House for a little bit. We will have that open. We would enjoy seeing all of you. Enjoy the rest of your time today and tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.